Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Derek. I'm the Director of Enterprise Co-Digital Solutions at BIPO. BIPO is a one-stop global HR provider offering payroll and HR management solutions. And today, I have the pleasure of hosting this Fireside chat. Alongside me, I have Mr. Ong Wee Teck, the CEO of Trusted Services. Trusted Services is part of Temasek Group, and today we will be tackling the topic on how to drive business agility in the VUCA world with a focus on organization culture. Before we begin, I want to share that Trusted Services has partnered with BIPO since 2019, and we have embarked on a digitalization journey. There has been great synergy, and one thing that's foundational to this relationship is the ability to remain agile in this VUCA world. Welcome, Teck.
Thank you for having me, Derek. It's my pleasure to be here. I think it'll be a very interesting conversation as we discuss some of the most important topic of the day, which is really about how do we navigate and have agility in a VUCA world.
Right, great. So, Teck, how do you think VUCA is affecting or has affected Trusted Services and the industry as a whole?
Number one, we are not spared from disruption. Right? All of us. This is above and beyond COVID-19, right? So the VUCA world clearly is hitting us. You can read on the paper, what's happening with all organizations today in terms of the changes they have to do to the organization, to digitalization, to technology, to reskilling of the staff and employee, because all these are just impacting in such a speed. One of the things I want to say is that we are at an exponential change time. It is not enough just to say it's change, but we are exponentially changing. So it is changing faster and faster, which, it means that we are changing more than, yesterday. If we are changing X, that X is better, more than yesterday's X, right? So it's a very exciting time in many, many ways, actually. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Great. Well, that's a very nicely put up. I guess in this VUCA world, it's really affecting everyone. Yeah. And of course, given the ever-changing business landscape, and now with the remote working, it's here to stay, right?
Yeah.
So as a CEO, why is leadership agility a business imperative, and how do you support agility at Trusted Services?
Yeah, I think one of the key things really is to make sure that our human capital, our talents are well managed. That's why one of the reasons why we partner with you. This is also to sell a bit of the BIPO, right? But we don't want to sell BIPO today. We want to talk about the fact that digitalization is just technology, right? But ultimately, it is about how our employees and how our management is able to be tracking the market, right? As the market change, we need to be able to track the market. I think the key is really the skills and the ability to get our team, manage our human capital so that the skills is appropriate for the changing time, right? So that's why we think digitalization on the HR side is so important. It is imperative, actually. Yeah. So that's to do with managing the human capital. Number two is also about learning. I think in the 30, 40 years ago, when you learn something, that skills can be useful for a long time. Today, if you learn something, the lifespan, the usefulness of the skill is much shorter, right? It is getting shorter and shorter. I remember when I was growing up as a programmer, many years ago, I won't say how long ago, I used to learn from books, right? You have something like a, C Bible, right? The language C, and you can read from a book, right? Today, if you read from a book, you're probably late because the books are not latest enough, right? So what do? You actually go online, you go to GitHub, you look for the code example, all this stuff, right? So the world has changed so much. The way we learn has also changed so much. So while we have to track the market, number one, number two, we have to make sure our people are learning and they are learning how to learn faster and faster as well. So that's also a very, very important point, actually.
Right. Yeah, I guess the important point is that other than to learn, right, I guess the opportunity also is to relearn. Relearn the existing skill set that we are currently having. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Well, Alvin Toffler said about 40 over years ago, he said, the illiterate of the 21st century is not those that cannot read or write, but those that cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. It's so apt, actually. And he said it 40 years ago, and he can hold the future, right?
Yeah, that's really well said.
It's so important to relearn. Well, we have to first learn to unlearn, right? You have to learn,
Yes.
unlearn, and then relearn. And this is a
Yeah.
constant change for all of us, and I think, even for me as a CEO, I take it very seriously that we need to learn. Like, for example, a very direct example is I'm talking to a camera, and that
Yes.
skills is very different from talking to an audience of 60
Yep.
people in a room or 200 people in a room, right?
Agree.
The skill is so different. I mean, the leadership skill is also very, very different. The way we communicate, I mean, if you can communicate passion through a camera, that is a set of skills that a lot of leaders are struggling to
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Mm.
How do you inspire over a camera? That's those skills right there, and I think we all
Yeah.
need to learn and unlearn and learn actually.
That's probably not mentioning any of the traditional textbook that
Correct.
is out there, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's
And
exciting. I mean, it's exciting. It's an opportunity, and I think
Yeah.
all of us need to jump at it, or else we fall behind, and then we pretty soon become, dinosaurs, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And the question is that how would you describe trusted services culture?
Yeah. Well, okay. Evolving. I think I would like to say that it is evolving to a more open. We are not where we want to be. So I would say that we create openness. Some of our technology or tech team would say that, we have a very open culture where we allow people to experiment, take some time, make some mistakes, and then come back and be able to say, okay, I made a mistake here because I tried something, and it's not something shunned upon to make mistakes in that sense. Even our business people should be given the opportunity to try a few things and say, okay, we need to change operation, but I'm not sure. So maybe we should be able to experiment a little bit, right? So that's number one. We need to be innovative in the way we look at things so that we can afford to fail in some ways and allow our people to experiment. The second thing is that we look at long term. I would like to say our culture look a bit longer term, somewhat like a stewardship, if you like, in a way that we would like to, or sustainability is the other word, right? I mean, you think of sustainability, I don't mean to say environment. I mean it a bit longer, as in like, would you like to leave this organization a better place when you leave compared to when you first join, right? So this is how I see stewardship, and also sustainable. We want a business that is sustainable for many generations, not just one and get disrupted and then disappear, right? We want to create a culture where it's a bit more longer term. So sustainable or stewardship, if you like, innovative, right? And on top of all the other usual, respect and so on. I mean, there's a lot of course, every organization can still improve, but I think that's always been our focus, to allow innovation, to allow basically a longer, sustainable way of looking at the business. Yeah.
Right.
So an example, when we look at our own co-sec services, we want to make sure it's digitalized because that's sustainable, that's innovative, right? So we create our own product and we launch it because of that thinking about digital boardroom and, co-sec. Yeah.
That's great. I guess the important point is that you have a culture that really support the employee to grow and also to innovate better. Yeah, in a sense, right? And also, I also like the statement whereby you leave the legacy behind in any organization that you're with, right? Yeah, of course, when you go from one organization to another, you leave a legacy behind. I think that's more important in that manner.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you don't leave it in the worst place. Okay. So you do all you can to make sure that the people that you manage improves and develop as a professional. So that's one way of improving or leaving a better legacy, right? So when you leave, the people you develop will take over and it's running in a better place or in a better situation, a better level. Yeah.
Right. So at BIPO, we believe that digitalization is the first step to help businesses to scale greater heights. Yeah. What do you think is the role of a robust tech ecosystem in building a digital capabilities, and why is this important for new and mature organizations?
Maybe, because there's quite a few parts of the question. So let me just take one. In order for us to continuously serve our customer better, so we need to make sure that it's not just technology, but maybe we can also listen to our technology partner telling us how their customers are using it elsewhere. So we incorporate some of this innovation as well. But of course, in order to keep up with that, we cannot build all the technology ourselves, clearly, right?
Yes.
So the ecosystem is one where we leverage some part where we build ourselves, some part we work with partners. I mean, BIPO is a partner to us, so clearly we're not going to go into HR system and build HR system because it's your bread and butter, it's not our bread and butter. So,
Yep.
we leverage on the strength that you bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, BIPO cannot also solve all the problems. So
Yes.
we also have other partners that solve some other parts of it. So, this whole ecosystem works in a way that we create a synthesis of all the support that we need in order for us to serve our client better, right?
Yep.
And of course, at the end of the day, it's all about whether we are successful in the market. If you are not,
Yes.
then all this will break apart, right?
Yeah.
So I think it is an exciting time in the sense that it's not just small company, but actually, if you look at a very, very big company, they are already embarking on their digitalization for a long
Yeah.
time. The
Mhm.
banks,
Yeah.
the telcos, the healthcare. But the smaller one, actually, you're seeing, actually, they are now embarking because mobile, is
Mhm.
everywhere. So the technology clearly has come and arrived. So big or small, everybody is looking at digitalization. And I hope when they say, and they talk about digitalization, it's not just a technology play, but
Yeah.
actually it's an uplift of capability and efficiency that is brought about because of technology, but also because the people has gotten to the new world and is able to operate in that new world, actually.
Right. Okay, well said. In that case. Well, for people itself, we also stepping on some of the technology that Trusted Services has, especially for the digital signature, and also the board meeting solution that you have. Yeah. So I guess having this partnership will really contribute to make the tech more interesting for clients and also organizations.
That's correct. Actually, I've got one thing to say when we come to this. One reason why we find people, and even for ourselves, right, where we look at the digital part of it, is because we are now focusing more and more on data. Do you realize that actually data is the heart of it, right?
Yes.
20 years ago, everybody talked about functional specs, right? When you develop a technology system, you talk about func spec or functional spec, right? And then you go into your technical specification and detailed design and so on and so forth, right? We don't really talk a lot. Some organizations too, but we don't really talk about data design, we do about,
Precisely.
we kind of take data as a secondary consideration, right? In that sense. But today, when we design digital solution, data is at the heart of it. Everything we do is data. When we test, it's data end to end, right? How do you know whether something is end to end tested? Well, when it is entry to the time data is being archived, that's how you look at, your end to end flow is data driven.
Yes.
And so data is now at the heart of everything. And when you do data analysis, right, everybody's talking about data, AI, right? But without data, what is AI? Without data, what is analysis, right?
True.
So actually, the world has now moved from functional processes to a very much a data-centric.
Okay.
And I just want to highlight this, the fact that actually that's what we do, and that's what you guys in BIPO do us as well. So I think, it's quite and we are not unique, right? Every other organization that's embarking on their digital transformation is taking data and making it the heart of it and moving towards that. And I think that is something that the audience should also think about, how they should change their technology development, digitalization development, moving from functional UI to more of a data-centric design, right?
Right. Okay. Well said, Mr. Ong. Well, thank you for all the insights we take. Yeah, and it's my pleasure to be your moderator today. Yeah, for those who are tuned in, we hope that this is a valuable session, and thank you for joining us. We are happy to take any questions that you have.